Hi, everyone. Thanks so much for joining us today. Should be a great next hour with Adobe and our guest speaker today, Max Munch, who is a travel and adventure photographer out of Munich. I think Munich. Aren't you from Munich?
It's Berlin. It's just
Oh,
my last
Berlin. I'm
name.
sorry.
No
I'm
worries.
sorry. Berlin-based adventure and travel photographer. He's got a wonderful body of work he just really brings the human element to all of his travels to light. And you can ask any of his 600,000 plus Instagram followers, and I'm sure they will all agree. So with that, let's turn it over to you, Max, and tell us about how you create some of these extraordinary images that you create.
Thank you so much, Kathy, for having me tonight. It's pretty late here, but luckily it's not getting any darker. So I hope the light situation is perfect now. Yes, again, thank you so much for having me. And it's a pretty unusual time of the year or like situation I'm in at the moment, because usually right now I'm traveling somewhere. I don't know, May is such a beautiful time to be anywhere in the world, but at home. So what we're going to talk about tonight is a lot of travels that I did in the past. I've traveled around 50 or 60 countries, but I love to come back to some places, and I love to return to the places that impressed me the most, or where I connected most to the people. And tonight I want to show you two places, two of my very favorite places that I connect to the most. And that is one, Mongolia, which is probably my favorite, and I would call it even my second home. And I'm planning to be there in about 26 days again, hopefully, when borders will open. And the second country is Jordan. Jordan, it's in the Middle East, and it's a beautiful place that many people don't have on their map. And I think this is what my travels are most about. I love to travel to remote places, and to places that many people don't have on their map, or even on their top lists or top 20 list. So I love to go to places that are kind of hidden, or they're kind of untouched, or they sometimes even don't have roads. It's just pure wilderness sometimes. But it's not just about the landscape that impresses, like the reason why I come back. It's also about the people. That's why in recent years I also went more into taking photos of people in their natural environment, in like wherever they are home. And this is usually really far away from civilization. So tonight we're going to jump into the world of the nomads and the steppes, but also the desert of Jordan. And I think we're going to edit a couple of photos. I prepared 3 photos to be precise, and there's a lot to talk about. And then afterwards, I would like to show you just a little slideshow, because it's also about storytelling tonight, I think. Because, you see, it's like on Instagram, you see one photo, it's the hero shot. And then, you don't hear much about the story behind. It's just this photo, and then you scroll further. That was my recent, or like my experience in the past couple of years. That's why I really appreciate that Instagram kind of recently added the feature of the gallery, or the carousel post, where you can just swipe through and tell a little bit more about the entire story. But because we have more time tonight than just one Instagram post, I'm going to show you a little slideshow about my Jordan adventure. It's probably one of my most favorite series. Yeah, and I have to apologize first because I'm still on a bad migraine, but I'm pretty sure we're gonna rock it tonight. And what really would help me if you guys in the audience would have a lot of questions that I can answer. So just shoot them over, and we're gonna talk about, and I'm gonna reply to whatever you have in mind and ask me. So Kathy, I think I'm going to share my screen now, and we jump right into the very first picture tonight. And
take it away.
I'm gonna switch off my camera so you can all focus on what's really important. And these are these images. Before we go to Jordan, I want to go to Mongolia, because this is also the cover picture of tonight. This, I'm going to do this. All right. This is Din Islam. He is about, how old now? I think 6 years old now. I think he turned 6 years last month. And I met him when he was just 2 years old. So 4 years ago, I was in Mongolia for the second time. And I was traveling around the entire place for a couple of weeks. And it was a very funny story how we actually met. So Mongolia, you need to know, it's very remote, and it's really odd, and it's really different, you know. That also means that people are different, but also their perception of time is very different. So I went to Mongolia and I said, I would love to meet one of those eagle hunters. And my guide says, yeah, let's do it. Let's go. So we started traveling, and we went through, I don't know, steppes, through deserts, through forests, and crossed a lot of rivers. And we were about 6 days on the road already, or let's say road, you know, it was actually just a track or a path, sometimes not even that. And then after 6 days, I was like, hey, does the eagle hunter actually know that we're coming? And did you inform anyone about this? And my guide was like, no, but I know that like 10 years ago, when I met him last time, he was doing hay or making hay on the field in the Altai Mountains. And I was shocked because I was 6 days in, and, it would take 6 days back to go back to the capital. And if we don't meet this person, then, well, the whole mission was kind of, senseless. Also, it was beautiful to travel, but I really wanted to meet those guys. But on the 7th day, we were passing by this field, and my guide was like, all right, he should be somewhere here. And he started looking, and we stopped the car, and he started walking around the place and didn't return for like half an hour. And then he came back and was like, I've seen him. I saw him just over there. So we drove there another 5 minutes, and there he was making hay, just in the fields, and those fields that you see here behind. So that was that's how we got there in the first place, which was quite adventurous. And it kind of gives you the feeling of how Mongolia actually works. And I love it. People, these nomads, they travel around and they go to places several times a year. So they change location about 4 times a year. But it's not like they just go randomly to some new places, but they always return to their, let's say, 4 home bases. So there's a winter camp, there's a spring camp, summer camp, and an autumn camp. And that's why it's kind of predictable where they are to be found. Sorry about my English. When my migraine kicks in, it just gets worse. But I hope you can understand what I'm trying to say. So yeah, that's how we met in the first place. And he has a little kid, the eagle hunter, Bazabai, and this is him. This is Din Islam. This is his son. I shot this picture in 2019, and he calls me big brother, and I call him little brother. So we have a really close relationship already, and it's just, it's so fun to play around. And he is training now his own little falcon. He cannot have an eagle yet because the eagle would be heavier than him. So that's why they're giving him this falcon to train, because one day he would like to become an eagle hunter. Now he's just a falcon hunter, but this is cool. Enough talking, we should dive into the editing process, right? And I have found, I've walked down different paths, how to edit pictures, and I always find myself in questioning, is there a better way? Is there an easier way? Is there a faster way? And so, of course, I love to use my presets. So I have a couple of presets here, like these ones. This is probably the one that I would choose for this one, but it would be too easy. That's why we will start from the ground and try to recreate this kind of look, I think, because I like this the most. These are a bit too strong for this image. But yeah, what are your experiences with presets? Do you prefer them over, starting editing from scratch, or how do you use your presets? That would be really interesting for me to know. So maybe Kathy, you can let me know what the community thinks while I'm talking about editing.
Will do. Guys, jump in the chat pad and in the chat area and tell us how you use presets.
Wonderful. So, and a couple of years ago, I started filming as well. That's why sometimes I love when a picture is really desaturated, and that's where you start from, like, from very, very scratch. And then you kind of color grade it, like in, like a video program, for example, Premiere Pro, that I use quite a lot. So what we're going to do now is basically desaturate the whole picture. I mean, this is not very saturated yet. This is just the original Canon file. I used the 70-100, the aperture of 3.2, as you can see here, and just a low ISO, like the standard ISO of 100. Yeah, so it's pretty flat already, but I want to make it even more flat, just to color grade it properly. I just want to talk about the colors. So this is, I take off some contrast. I even bring down some of the highlights. There's not much, but maybe it makes it. You see this here on the FUR 4, it makes already a difference. I increase the shadows to make it even more flat and bring down the blacks just a little bit. So you can already see, oh, wait, what happened here? That's not supposed to be there. Anyway, you remember how it looked before. So what I do next, I will even bring down the vibrance here. So to make it look really flat, you see this? So there's almost no color in there anymore, but that's not it. I will also work on my tone curve. The tone curve I use really rarely when I edit portraits. I don't know why. It's just, it's too powerful, I think, this tool. So what I do here is just I take off some of the blacks. I mean, there's not many left, but you see on the belt, I'll zoom in. I will make it like this. So it's not that saturated anymore, or, too dark, but, I bring it up a bit. And that's what I usually do with all my images. I think I will flatten the image by adding some fade here in the black. So I cut off all of the blacks. As you can see here, there's not many, but I'm still cutting them off. So this looks really flat and really boring, right? But that's, I don't know, that's what I like. It's the most natural, I think, because obviously, like, Canon has a color profile as well, and it adds some pictures to the frame. So I'm making it really, really flat just to bring out now all the colors. And I see I'm going to make it a bit brighter here. And I see this one looks really strange now. It looks more like, I don't know, it is supposed to look much brighter, I think. We pulled down the highlights earlier, but I would like to only increase the luminance in this area. So you see this here. So it's really bright now, and it's kind of the eye catcher of the image now. See it before and then after. This is actually one of my new favorite tools because it's kind of new to Lightroom. I think a half year or something. And because my pictures are usually quite blue, I put some blues in the midtones, but also in the highlights. And now you can already tell it's, you see this, it's much bluer than before. And I kind of like this, we're still in the preparation phase. more or less, except for this little part here. This was just a little color pop that we created here. And now comes the fun part, because this is a tool I usually use quite heavily, and it's called calibration. So it's basically, this is a tool which you usually use for color correction of skin tones. So you have really fine nuances that you can bring out here. It's actually built in your camera, so different cameras have different camera calibrations. And I would like to adjust this one here. So let's dive straight in there. So what I do here now is I'm going to bring back some red tones, because I see it's probably too blue, but I only want to use this camera calibration tool now. And then we make the magic happen. You're going to be very surprised. The red primary, the green primary, and the blue one, so RGB. And now we adjust the hue of these colors, but we can also adjust the saturation separately. So let's jump into the blue primary, because this is, I think, my favorite one. It kind of makes the sky more green and the yellow more orange. Check this out. You see this? You see the sky, it's turning more green. But this is too much, obviously. But it also makes the grass look more red. Now I go into, hold on, like this. I go into the red primary, because I don't like the color now of the grass here. So I go into this one. Yes, and now we bring these colors back, the exact colors that I want. And the green, let's play around with this. I think this looks pretty decent, I think. Cool. Yeah. And now we can adjust. So you see what it did? I kind of adjusted these skin tones, because I think this looks most natural, and it also brings out the fur here really nicely. And also this part, it just looks exactly how I remembered. And I think it's quite a big difference that we made here with these little tweaks here down here. I think this requires a lot of practice, because you need to have a lot of imagination where you want your edit to go, you know? So it's not just, you know, see what you get, or you get what you see, or what's it called? Anyway, you know what I mean. But it's what you imagine the image should look like in the end. And I think this is very important to me. Now we can work on these colors and saturate these reds again, the orange tones, and maybe also the yellow ones. Let's see what it does. Not really. Look at this 4 here. So we take off. This looks really dirty, so I want to make it look kind of whitish, so that it creates this kind of contrast. You see this? And I would like to go into this background color, because I still don't like it. And I will adjust it towards the greens a little bit. We have to be really careful, because you see here, when you do it too much, you have these artifacts, because you adjust the color, and that's, hold on, that's right, this one here. You have to handle this with care, with a lot of care. So yeah, I think what this picture needs still is kind of depth. What I use to create this depth is gradients. So I will draw a gradient from the bottom, and I will just make this kind of dark. Same I'm going to do here from the top. That was obviously a little too much, but like this. So now it draws the viewer's attention already in, I think. But I see that the face is still not the point of like the where you look at for the very first time. So you have to go in here into the adjustment brush. Now it comes up, sorry. I'm just using these tools and I don't know how to, like what the actual name is in English. So I'm just painting in here and add some exposure to this little guy. Maybe add some clarity as well, just to bring out the face. See what different it makes. And I adjust it only slightly, and I don't adjust it, like I don't use it for the entire image. Let's see what it does when I adjust the entire image. It makes like kind of this really strong contrasty look. And I kind of like it, you know, when you do it really slightly, but it gets too much really quickly. So I'll just leave it like this and add most of it to the face, because this is where I want the viewer to look at first. I think it's a little too warm still on the top, so I make it a little brighter. Maybe bring back some of the colors. That's a little too much, but I think this is already really nice. I'm gonna add some luminance to the sky, maybe a little bit. You see what it does in the background? It's just slightly, but I think this looks more natural to me. It kind of highlights it. Yeah, and I think this is this would be my edit already. And then I just love to crop my images in 16:10. So that's what I usually do. I crop them in the end all the time, because when I do it right at the beginning and I do some adjustments, then when I then go back and uncrop it more or less, you know, then some of the adjustments have been made wrongly, or, you know, they shift, or it just looks not good anymore. And now I can basically crop it into any format. For example, also for Instagram 4:5, I press X, so it goes into vertical. So that would be the Instagram format, I think. And that's pretty much it to this image, I think. Are there any questions so far, Kathy?
Oh my gosh, that little boy is so adorable. And I just love that look of, it's something between pride and joy, right? He clearly is very proud of what he's doing. Seems to be happy doing it. You've really brought out,
Absolutely.
I think, the essence of that little boy.
Look at
when
this
we're
t-shirt.
having a conversation about, yeah, thanks the t-shirt. Presets. So people in the audience today generally aren't starting with presets. They often, a couple people said that they make their own if they really like edits that they do, but this gang seems to be editing each photo individually based on what they see or what they feel from the image. In this particular case, since you have him kind of the way that you want it, would you make a preset of this and then apply it to other photographs of him or this area taken around the same time? Or would you start from scratch every time you edited an image of him?
Yeah, that's a really good question. Thank you, community, and thank you, Kathy, for reading this out. So yes, I do love presets, because usually when I'm on a job and when I travel, then I'm kind of in a hurry, and the client usually wants my wants the edited pictures within just a couple of days. So I would save a lot of time by using presets. And usually I start from scratch with one image. And if I like it, then I create a preset out of this. And then because I'm usually, you know, I'm in one place or in a similar area at least, then I apply the preset to the entire series. And then I do subtle adjustments to each image. Because I think this is very, I don't know, I save a lot of time with this. And I have the chance to create a very consistent look. Like if I would edit every picture from scratch, every picture would look very different. It would have still the same elements sometimes. For example, here, when I, you know, create this little fade, it would have these elements for sure, but still the look would be very different, because sometimes it's about the light that I created in this one image, and, you know, or the colors, the same oranges. So when I'm on a job, I try to adjust let's say my most important camera settings, especially the calibration, only once, and try to use always the same aperture, and same ISO, so that I don't have to change that much in the post-production. So I'm really trying to get the perfect picture in camera already, and then I save a lot of time later on as well. We're gonna check this out in my Jordan series later, because I applied the preset to all of them, and it created this very consistent look.
All right, those are all the questions for now. We've got another 35 minutes or so, so I think you should dig into another image.
Oh, absolutely. So the next one is actually 2 images, and that was very funny. So this is also Mongolia, and I went to the reindeer people. It was after it was on the exact same trip that I took this photo, and it took us another 8 days to get to the north, to the reindeer people. These are people that live in the very north of the country, and they also always cross borders with Russia, because that's where half of the other tribe lives. It's a beautiful mountainous area, but very muddy and very yeah, it's very foresty. I don't know, you can tell here in the background. I'm gonna bring this up a little bit, so you see there's a lot of trees. You know, it's very unlike Mongolia, or it's unlike what people think Mongolia actually is, but it has a lot of trees and it's beautiful. However, in this area, there's a lot of moss, obviously, and that's the perfect feeding ground for reindeer. And that's why this tribe, or these very few tribes, there are only, I think, like 5, 6 left in the entire world. And 4 of them live inside Mongolia. There's another tribe that lives in Finland and somewhere else. I don't remember right now, but we want to talk about Mongolia. And so these people, since centuries, they live off reindeer. Like they ride the reindeers, so they use them for transport, but they also eat them, and they make things out of their bones. So whenever they have to kill one of these animals, it's a ceremony, and it's something very special. And it's, you know, Mongolians, they know it's really harsh to survive in this outside environment. So they know how to use and utilize everything, every little thing from an animal, especially the reindeer, obviously. So they take the milk, but then later on, of course, they take meat. They take these, what's it called in English?
The antlers, the hide?
Antlers.
Antlers.
Yeah, exactly. So they make weapons out of this, but not anymore really. So they make little tools to prepare their tents and everything. So that's you know what it's mainly used for. So, but here is the thing. I was outside, and it turned dark really quickly, and it was after a long day of shooting, and then I realized, well, it's getting dark, and the moon is out, and then I was like, hey, I haven't gotten any shot of a person actually sitting on the reindeer. So we were all day running around shooting reindeer and people, but never people on a reindeer. And I realized this just in time. I didn't get any good shot out of this, and I was even with my 70-100 and my prime lens, and also my wider angle lenses, they were far away. So I had to shoot a panorama, and that's actually really cool because it limits you. So this lens limits you quite a lot, but if you're creative and you find ways to work around, I think there's a lot of possibilities that you can create an amazing image still. So I created this panorama out of these 2 images. And obviously, like here, it's too much sky and too little reindeer, and here there is no sky and too much reindeer. So I want to find the middle ground. So what I do is I photo merge them into this panorama. And I think this looks already really, really good. And what I love about this tool in Lightroom is that you can fill those edges. if it works. Yes. So you see here, and let's see what it does. Damn, it's doing a pretty decent job. So I cannot really tell that there was a blank page right up below. Wow, this is amazing. Yeah, so this is grand. So I'm gonna take this, merge, and then I have created a panorama. So which I can start working on. Yeah, because I don't know why I don't know why I did take the other lens. I was just in such a rush. But yeah, if you're creative and if you challenge yourself, I'm going to talk about this later on when I go into Jordan. Oh, a lot of images from Jordan just appeared. We're going to talk about this in a minute. Yeah, if you limit yourself to only one lens, of course you have to get creative, and doing a panorama shot is then one option. All right, so let's dive into this image, and I'm not going to do much here, I think, because this is really strong already. I'm just going to apply some of my basic looks. So I'm going to bring down the highlights just to bring up the moon a little bit. That makes a big difference. See here, you can tell there's a moon, but it's, the contrast is too big. So I'm going to bring this down, make it look even more moody. And I bring up those shadows. Oh dear. Shadows. This is not really nice here, I think. It creates this kind of haze around the reindeer. So I'm going to work on this in a minute. But I focus on this one so you can actually tell there is something here, and there's a person, and there's a structure. Bring it up even more. Yes, you can tell there is something going on. I'm going to bring down these whites a bit and bring up the blacks just to, take off some contrast. And again, I will add my little faded look to the image. Oops, that's too much. No, actually not. It's nice. Why do I like this faded look? Well, it kind of reminds me of a print. I mean, there's always the material below the ink, so it kind of it's never really actually black, and that's what I'm trying to recreate here. It would be too contrasty for me. You see this? I don't know. I kind of like it when I take off some of the blacks. You see, of course, some of the details are disappearing slowly, so you have to take care because this is obviously a little much. But I kind of like this look. It's very individual. I don't know how about you guys, but that's how I like it. Now I go all the way down again to the camera calibration because it's just my favorite tool. I'm going to make it more bluish here, or more greenish, I wanted to say. Just slightly. Let's see. Like, this is how it looked before, and I applied this look already, and it kind of looks like one of my images because I'm always applying this fade and this bluish greenish touch. What I still don't like is the crop, and I think it's about storytelling, and I'm not thinking in Instagram formats. I'm thinking about big screens. I want to show this on a big screen. I don't know if this will ever happen, but at least this is the plan, and that's why I'm cropping it again to 16:9 or 16:10, like this. I think because this is the most important part. You see here, it's in the golden, like it has this golden rule in here. You see this, the X over here, and the hat is here, and the other hat is here, and the moon is also right in the middle. So that's very balanced image. This is also something I do sometimes. I add some grain. If the image is grainy already, then why not add some more grain to increase, the blending. Let's say I blend this image a little better. This is obviously too much, but like this is really nice. It blends much better now. It's just a subtle difference, but you can tell here actually in this part. Yeah, I don't know if you can see this on your screen now. But yeah, this is what I would do to this image, and maybe just a little vignette. Yes, I think this works really nicely on this image. Let's have a look. Yeah. I think this is, you know, quite a big difference, although we just, you know, did apply some subtle changes.
Max, all I'm seeing is white.
Oh, because I highlighted it with the L button. So do you see everything now? Like
No,
now you're back?
no, I'm just still seeing a white screen.
Oh, why is that? Maybe I'm gonna stop sharing my screen for a second, and I'm gonna come back to my Lightroom catalog here. Does it work now?
No, I'm only seeing white. I see the histogram. I see the tool panel on the right. I see the film strip at the bottom, but your main image, I'm only seeing white.
That is strange.
It
So
is
what
very strange.
What if I go here, click on another image?
Same thing.
Same thing. That is okay. Let me. I'm sorry, I never had this before.
I've never seen it before.
Weird. So then I'm saying hi for now, and I'm gonna try to figure out what's actually happening. Maybe I will just share the entire screen. Let's see if this works. What about now? Obviously, now you can see the entire bar here as well, but and also my face. But can you see?
I see that. I now see the photo again. If you'll just mute your video camera,
Okay,
so that it doesn't block the histogram.
Let's do this. I'm sorry for this.
No,
that's a
it's
very
not
interesting
you.
error.
Zoom Gremlins.
Unable to start video because, okay, cool.
Yeah, it looks great. Thank you.
Wonderful. Then I'm gonna put this up here. Yeah, so that was it for Mongolia, and that was like half the session already. So that's why we should definitely dive into Jordan. Are there any questions so far, Kathy?
Yeah, that was interesting. There was a question which I thought was a super interesting one. Shawnee asked, how does one get accepted and enter the country of Mongolia?
It depends on where you're from, obviously, but Mongolia has very easy travel restriction. You say restriction? I don't know. Like it's not difficult to enter the country. At the moment, it is because it's the borders are still closed. But hopefully in a couple of weeks, they're going to open again. And all you need is a visa and nowadays also a full vaccination to enter the country. But it's definitely not a big issue. And if you're from Europe, even most of the countries, they don't have any, like you don't need a visa at all. Also, if you're from Turkey, for example, or other countries, you don't need a visa. You just arrive and it's 30 days stay that you can book basically. Yeah, when you do a tour in Mongolia, you can stay there 30 days for free if your visa if there's no visa required. Yeah, but otherwise it's super easy. Just go to your embassy and apply for the visa. It should be done really quickly.
Well, that's wonderful to know. Thank you. I think a lot of us are now eager to. I want to go meet the little boy in Mongolia. I don't know about the rest of y'all, but
you actually can. You actually can. Did I tell you? If you click on my Photo Plus profile, it leads you to my profile, and then you find follow the tracks somewhere mentioned. This is actually a company that I founded in 2019. And it's a travel company, and it's an off-road travel company. So you get a car and you get to travel to all of the places that I've been to, and you can take photos there.
Oh,
So
sounds
that's,
amazing. All right. So now
if
why
you
don't
want to
you
go to Mongolia.
take us on
Exactly.
another journey with an image? You've got about
Exactly.
20 minutes left.
Yes. So let's talk about this image really quickly. This is in Jordan and it's in one of my favorite places. This is Petra. You see this down here below. You probably have seen it in other pictures on Instagram. It sometimes also looks like this, but we will get to this image later on. This is how it looks in the night, and this is how it looks from above. And this was very interesting because when I was in Mongolia in 2016 for not Mongolia, sorry, in Jordan for the first time in 2016, I met this guy and he was living in the desert, and I took photos of him back then, and we kind of connected and was like, hey, that's super cool. And yeah, 1 year later, I came back to Jordan and I went to Petra, to this place, which was, kind of far away from where he used to live. And then I found him living up here. So this is his home. And he has probably the best view on the entire planet. It's absolutely amazing. And we recognized each other and we exchanged some photos. And I actually brought him a photo because I wanted to meet him again. Then I bumped into him on Petra. That was a very big coincidence. But since we talked about presets earlier and we are kind of running out of time, so what if we just go into my preset selection here? And I have actually created a couple of presets here. Where did they go now? Where did they go? Jordan, look. So when I go to a place, I usually create a lot of presets. Obviously, not every preset fits to every occasion or every photo. So this is very sad here. And this is very strong as well. So I'm trying to look for a really nice moody look here, but still, yeah, I think this is something we can work with. This, it's even, oh, it says Petra. So, but obviously it's very desaturated because it's always, I use presets as a base. So I bring back some of these colors. And now I see like I want to highlight this area a little bit. So I go into the shadows and make it a little bluish, more bluish like this. And also look what the highlights are doing. Hoppala. Yeah, no, I think this is cool like this. But I realized I would like to crop the image already. Also, I said different earlier, but it just feels right now. I'm gonna go in here, make this a little brighter, make it probably a little warmer, like this. Oops, I don't know what that was. So it's very funny what Lightroom is doing today. But this is, not very highlighted yet. So I'm going to paint it in. I'm going to take off all the effects. I'm going to paint it in. You cannot see anything yet, but now I'm going to make it a little more bluish, probably like this. Yes, I think this is cool. I'm going to add another gradient from the bottom to draw the viewer's attention right into the image here as well. So what I'm trying to do, because now obviously this is the edited image now, but when you take the photo, or when I take the photo, I usually look for kind of a foreground, to bring in some depth of field. So you're kind of drawn into the image, as if, if I would have sitting right behind him, I would not have seen the Petra, and it would be a very flat image. So I kind of included his roof. And yeah, I remember that I was standing high up and I was trying to reach the roof in my camera and to take this photo. So yeah, depth of field is very, very important to me. And I see here, this is way too bright. So I'm going to brush this in very generously. And I bring down these highlights because I want everyone to look here and to this place. This is the most important thing. So I'm trying to bring in the viewer's attention to the most important elements. And I'm going to make it even more obvious. I'm going to add some clarity. Oh, that's too much. Like here. You know, this and here as well. Whoop, whoop. And I think this looks pretty decent, I would say. And now we have a couple of minutes left. And yeah, I would like to show you some images of Jordan, because, you know, there's so much to tell you about this place. And it cannot be told through one image. Yeah, that's why I'm going to show you. Hold on, you're not going to see this now, so I have to share a different screen. Hold on. 1 second. I'm going to select this one here. Can you see this, Kathy? It's supposed to be a gray.
Yes, I see a gray screen that has the title.
Okay, that's perfect. And now you see my face too?
Yes, I see you, and I see a gray screen and your face, which is not gray.
Okay, great. Okay, that's cool. So let's go into these images. And yeah, I just go through and I will tell you something about the places, not very detailed now, but I want to take you on a journey through Jordan, how I discovered it in 2016. And as I said, like, you know, to me, it's all about the landscape, but also about the persons that live there, the people, the locals, the nomads in this case. And this, he's a herder for his goats, and he just looked so great. I don't know, like this look, and I don't know, you can tell that he has been through a lot and that he's seen a lot. And that, of course, like living in this environment, it's very harsh, very dry, and of course, this also affects his yeah, his appearance. Hold on, I'm going to try to put it up there. Just a couple of kilometers away, we turned into a little coffee place, and they also had some, you know, some things on the grill. And on this trip, I challenged myself and put on mostly just one lens, and that was the 35mm, the 35 1.4 Sigma art lens on my Canon back then. And I think that was really, that's one of my favorite images from this trip, because I don't know, it tells so much, and I like these colors and the mood because of the dust and the sunshine coming in. So that was pretty cool. Yeah, it was up here, actually, one of these places here. I think it was in here. So that was pretty nice. Yeah. And I kind of like to go to these places that no one actually goes to, because you discover a lot of cool things. For example, this, I don't know what it is. It was kind of a castle, I think, an old castle. And that was pretty interesting. That was the view actually from this window. So that was even better. And it's cool because you can see Israel here in the background. This is the Dead Sea here. And this is Israel already. This is probably the best picture I took on this trip, I think, because it's so emotional to me. I don't think I don't think I have taken a more emotional picture yet, because it's, you know, this little girl, and it plays with the little finger here, and it's hiding from us inside her mom's arms, and that's just so heartwarming. And you can, I don't know, you can think it's a very sad image, but actually it shows a lot of love, because this is the little girl. Look at these eyes. She was such a, I don't know, she was smiling all the time, and that she was just shy and she tried to hide. So that was very cute. Then we went to Petra, and Petra is not just what you saw earlier. Petra is so much more. It's the entire city built out of temples and You see here a lot of caves, and that was just so interesting to see that people used to live there until, you know, the 60s even. It's not just the big temples, but it's also, you know, the views up there. That's an absolutely incredibly beautiful place. And this is something you should not miss when you go to Jordan. It's Petra by night. You see, I don't know, probably 100 candles that light up the entire scenery, and it's so powerful. It's absolutely beautiful. And which was also cool was that when we left Petra, we actually set out for a 4-day trip hiking across the desert. And we only met our drivers in the evening and in the morning, and they prepared some food for us. And this was Mahmoud, and he was the funniest guy ever. He was one of our guides. That's, you know, that's a place to wake up to, right? And that's one of the places that we hiked through. It's just endless desert, and it's so beautiful. And then that's why I came up with Jordan tonight, is because, you know, May the 4th, and that's actually where they shot a lot of parts of Star Wars in Wadi Rum, which is the red desert, as you can tell. Look at this. This is the picture that I got from the hot air balloon, and it shows basically Star Wars, doesn't it? It was one of the most impressive sceneries I've ever encountered. Kathy, how are we with timing? Oh, we have
doing great.
a few more minutes.
We have about 8 minutes, and we have some questions. So should we jump into some questions?
Yes, please shoot. I will just go through here as a slideshow, and I will answer the questions you have.
Linda asked the question, and Carla both, a question I think a bunch of us are thinking, which is, how much equipment do you carry on a travel shoot? And then which, you know, like, what's your favorite body and your favorite lens? How do you make sure that you have the right stuff with you, but don't become a pack mule on your trips?
Yeah, that's a good point. It really depends on the trip. It depends on the destination, and it depends on the job, because most of my trips are actually jobs. I would say like 95%. So it's always good to bring a lot of gear, which is not something I, you know, like to do, but sometimes I have no choice. So usually I bring a 24-70 2.8, the 70-100 2.8 as well. Sometimes, if I have a lot of space, also a 16-35. But recently, in recent years, I started to like more and more these, you know, just the prime lenses, 35 and 50 and 20. So that's some of, you know, when I know I go and take pictures of people, I usually leave even my 24-70 and the long lenses at home. I just, you know, take out my 35 and my 50 and I start shooting. For example, this one, I don't know, this was such a cold morning, and our guide was like, hey, should we make a fire? And so we did. And I just had only one lens with me on this trip, you know, on this day, and it served me very well. And my favorite body was the Mark IV Canons. I'm a Canon shooter. I know there's a lot of better cameras out there, but, you know, it just went through a lot with me, and it's so durable. That's why, you know, it's my favorite. But I'm switching to the Canon EOS R5 in just a few weeks for the next job.
All right. We have a couple of specific.
But I wanted to add something. Sorry, Kathy. People always think it's about the gear. You know, I discovered this a lot. So when I go on a trip and then there's a kind of a touristic place, and I see a lot of people with heavy gear, big cameras, very expensive cameras, and then I check what they're doing, and it's on automatic, you know, and that's something I see so often. So it's not about the camera. It's about what you have with you, and it can be even your smartphone. So I take a lot of photos with my phone as well. especially in Mongolia, and also portraits. These things are so powerful, these little smartphone guys. So it really depends. It doesn't really depend on the gear that you bring, but how you use it and how you master it.
A presenter that we've had on this series, Lisa Carney, her whole thing is it's not the wand, it's the wizard.
Ah, that's perfect. Yes.
This is what says it, right? Not the equipment, wow. It's the brain behind the equipment, right?
Exactly.
We have a couple of questions on specific images. So first, the photo you showed a while ago of the older gentleman that was a shepherd. The question was, did you add fill when you were shooting, or did you do that in post to make his face pop out? There he is.
Yeah. No, I never use any additional gear. So I'm a big friend of natural light. And if there's no light available, then I need to position the person a little differently. But yeah, like in this case, there's no reflector or anything. It's just, post-production in this case. And something that you might have seen already, I don't really care much about the sky. It can be blown out, it can be white. I don't really care in this case. So I focus on what's important, and this is the face and not the blue sky. I think you're going to have a hard time finding any blue sky in my image. Like even this is kind of whitish.
Interesting. So it really keeps the focus on what you want to keep the focus on.
Exactly.
Not on the glorious sky, but on the imagery in front of it. Another specific image question. In the picture of the little girl that was kind of hiding, how did you get that background so black? Did you do that in post, or was that really a very dark background?
No, that was really a dark background. That's where they lived. So it's just, it's the entrance of their home. And it's basically one of, like a small tent, more or less. And it was just very dark in there. So I didn't darken anything there. It's just, that's just how it looked.
All right, good to know. Joan has an interesting question that you can probably provide perspective on. What advice would you give to female photographers traveling alone in some of these regions?
So you need to know that both Mongolia and Jordan and many other places that were not mentioned tonight, for example, Iran, these places, they have a reputation that, it's kind of unsafe, or you never know. And especially female travelers, solo female travelers, they should, not go there. But the opposite is the case. Obviously, there's, some, of course, there's some crime happening sometimes, but I personally don't know any solo female traveler who had been attacked or, some bad experience. Actually, all my friends that are female solo travelers, they can tell the most amazing stories and how they connected to the people, because especially Mongolia and Jordan, the people are so incredibly friendly. So they are so hospitable. So when they hospitable. It's like if you follow, for example, Eva Zubeck, or my friend Marina from Switzerland, they love to travel solo through the most dangerous region in the world, Afghanistan, for example, or Pakistan. And they say, whatever they say in the media, it's one side, but the bigger side, the most important thing is the people are so incredibly friendly, and nothing ever happens to them. Obviously, you have to take precautions, but especially Mongolia, I can vouch for you that nothing bad will happen to you when you travel through Mongolia.
That's wonderful to know. And I suppose in most countries, it's very prudent, especially if it's your first trip, to have a knowledgeable local guide that can help you navigate. Obviously, you won't have the language skills to get through.
Exactly.
I think we are out of time, and you have answered all the questions. Your images make me want to get out and travel. So for all of us that are getting itchy to get out and travel after this long period of time where we've all been home. May we go out and have adventures, and now we have some ideas on how to capture the essence of all of those places that hopefully soon we'll all be going to. Max, thank you very, very much for a wonderful hour that you just spent with us. Thank you all for attending, and I hope to see many of you at our next Adobe presentation, which I believe is a week from Thursday, with Katrine Eisman and John McIntosh, talking about how the two of them
Oh,
during the
that
pandemic
is amazing.
they went to the same place and each took images. So how
Oh,
the
wow,
two
that's
of them,
interesting.
yeah, it should be really
Wow,
interesting how the two of them viewed the same thing very differently. Again,
I'm
thanks,
definitely
Max.
gonna
Everyone
watch
have
it.
a good rest of their week.